I found out that my wife of more than 20 years was having an affair. I was completely hurt over this and have started divorce proceedings. Obviously, this has been hard on our 4 children, but I cannot spend the rest of my life with someone I can't trust. Before we got married, my wife's family had money and demanded I sign a prenup. I had no problem, but since then, the family money has been lost due to bad investments and lawsuits. My wife was a stay-at-home mom for the majority of our marriage. Our youngest child is 19, and because of the prenup, she can't get alimony. In short, my wife will be screwed. The only thing we own together was our house, and while it is paid off, my wife won't be able to afford the upkeep or HOA fees, so she will effectively be homeless. I have no intention of giving her any type of support for any reason. Since serving my wife divorce papers, I have refused direct contact as my lawyer has advised, but she's now playing dirty by getting the children involved. We have 2 boys, 23 and 21, and 2 girls, 25 and 19, and my wife has been pleading with them to get me to agree to halt the divorce proceedings in favor of counseling. After I told my children that I had no interest wasting any more of my life with that woman, they have all essentially backed off, except for my oldest, Christy. She's very close to her mother and can't imagine life where her parents aren't married. Christy tells me that her mother realizes her mistake and will do whatever it takes to make things right. She says that I owed it to the family to work things out. I refused and told her that it wasn't her place to make those kinds of demands. Since then, the only time Christy talks to me is when she's sobbing and asking me not to destroy the family. I understand that this is hard for her and offered to pay for therapy so she can cope, but she said there wouldn't be anything to cope with if I wasn't trying to divorce her mother. Since Christy is being too emotional to act within reason and refuse therapy, I have been resolved to limit contact until after the divorce. However, my other children are saying that Christy's behavior is getting worse. Am I wrong for taking a step away from my daughter for a while? He came back and cleared a few things up because my wife and I own the house together. So long as we sell the house and split the proceeds, she'll get something. My wife didn't give up her career to raise my children. We could have hired a nanny, but she didn't want that and chose to be a stay-at-home mom for our children. Because of her family money, she was getting a monthly allowance from the estate. Plus, I paid for a housekeeper to make things easier on her. Once my wife reached 30, she started getting a monthly allowance from the family estate, and the prenup addressed that, so I couldn't claim half. In exchange, she couldn't get alimony. I didn't want my children to get involved in the divorce. My wife decided to do that and even brought up the reason why as a form of a preemptive strike. I only talk about the divorce when someone else brings it up, which Christy wants to do all the time. I am not abandoning my daughter. I am just lowering contact with her until the divorce is finalized, because she's not letting up on trying to pressure me into taking her mother back and refuses to go to therapy that I will pay for. Also, to the comments asking why my wife cheated, it's a little offensive. I don't know how that changes anything or that I should care. However, the guy that she cheated on me with was younger. Looked like he couldn't be any older than 30, so take that information and do what you will. Then came his final update. I decided to follow some of the advice and have a scheduled sit-down with Christy to explain that what goes on between her mother and I is not her fault, and that I simply can't ever go back to a woman who deceived me in such a big way. I told her that I try to be as forgiving and empathetic as possible, but I will not ever tolerate people who lie with malicious and selfish intent, and I try to cut them out of my personal life as much as possible. I was very calm when I said this and tried to be as loving as I could to my child, but it didn't work. Christy ended up breaking down and again tried to convince me not to divorce her mother and just forgive her. I refused, and in the end went no contact with Christy for a little bit. I only spoke to her again 2 days before my other daughter, Jane's birthday, through a text asking her to not bring up the divorce, since this was going to be the first time my wife and I would be in each other's presence since I filed. I sent the same text to her mother, and I didn't hear anything from either of them. On Jane's birthday, things were a little tense and awkward, but I thought it was going good, until my wife decided to be passive-aggressive with a speech about how good it is to have family together during important events. Everyone saw through her crap, and my son Jack called her out on it and said that she was selfish to bring this up on Jane's birthday. Christy started defending her mother and Jane, understandably upset, revealed the only reason Christy was on their mother's side for reconciliation. She didn't want it coming out that she not only knew about the affair, but helped her mother cover it up. There was a big fight that wasn't going to get resolved right then and there. I ended up leaving and was even more heartbroken all over again. Not only did my wife betray me, but my own daughter too. I knew she was closer to her mother than me, and I was okay with that. But this, I don't know what I did to make my eldest daughter so disloyal to me, but I am now resolved to go full no contact with her until after the divorce, and possibly for the rest of my life. In my opinion, this man did everything right, and the people closest to him did him wrong the whole way through. More than 20 years of marriage, 4 kids, and she threw it all away on a man not much older than her own kids. Then she stood up at her daughter's birthday party and made a speech about how good it is to have the family together. That is shameless. She did not want the family together. She wanted witnesses, so she would not have to face the man she betrayed one-on-one. And the prenup is the part that made me smile. Her family made him sign it to protect their money from him. 20 years later, that same piece of paper protected him from her. That's what I call karma. Now, the daughter. In my opinion, Christy is worse than her mother. She knew about the affair, she helped cover it up, and then she looked her father in the eye and lectured him about what he owed the family. She was not fighting for the family. She was fighting to keep her secret buried. That is an accomplice, not a peacemaker. And notice, it never came from her. Her own sister had to say it out loud. Christy did not confess. She got exposed, and those are two very different things. The man still offered to pay for her therapy. After all of that, that is more grace than most men could find, and it is damn sure more than those two deserved. He was right to walk, and he should never look back. See you in the next one.